Carter Finley is one of the best when it's a big game, a night game. I mean, I remember, the Clemson game this year. That was the atmosphere was out of sight. Some of their Florida State games at Carter Finley. The Louisville game, when it was Bradley Chubb against Lamar Jackson, I think it was a Thursday night game. That might have been the most electric atmosphere ever that I remember at Carter Finley Stadium. And most players in the league will tell you Carter Finley's probably in the top 4. But I would say football, maybe Virginia Tech. That place can get really loud, especially when they do the Enter Sandman thing at the beginning of the game. I always expect Mariano Rivera to pop out of the bullpen because I'm a Yankees fan, but I think I don't know if Virginia Tech stole that from him or vice versa, but Virginia Tech has always struck me as a great environment. Clemson, obviously, with 80,000 people there. Basketball, what are you saying? The nicest arena or the best atmosphere?
I mean, best atmosphere. I mean, I think I probably know your answer, but
it's not. There's nothing like Cameron Indoor Stadium. It's unique because it's so small and they have a lot of enthusiasm. I will say this, and maybe it started with Matt Doherty. It's gotten better at North Carolina over the years, and I think it was Matt Doherty when he was the coach there briefly prompted them to move the students down closer to the court, and then. That Smith Center's always been jumping over the years when Coach Williams was there. So those are, both of those are really tough places to play. Cameron and North Carolina, North Carolina is certainly not wine and cheese anymore, as was once noted back in the 90s. The nicest, now if I were to give you the nicest arena, I would say that it would be Louisville, the Yum Center. Pretty nice place. And Virginia's new arena is really nice. So it depends on what your criteria is.
Right.
Boston College is not going to win that one, though.
Yeah.
No. If you go to a hockey game.
We have something in common. We're both Yankees fans. So.
Oh, okay. See?
Yep.
And they're doing pretty well this year.
Hope we can keep it rolling.
Spence, you just went to a Yankee game. You got to tell them about this stuff.
That's great.
Went to Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, well that's a great ballpark in Pittsburgh.
It is
really nice.
I've only been to 2 ballparks, and that's new Yankee Stadium in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think. I mean, obviously doesn't have the history like Yankee Stadium, but it's one of the best atmospheres and environments to go to.
No, that's a beautiful ballpark. The way they framed it downtown, and I've walked across that bridge, out there in center field because when we go up there for games, we stay at a hotel that's just across the river, and Pittsburgh in general is a pretty neat place, but that's a beautiful ballpark.
Talking about ACC venues, you said there's nothing like Cameron. What a lot of people forget, or maybe younger people don't know, is how special the place Reynolds Coliseum was. And
absolutely,
you certainly would know that. What do you remember about Reynolds?
Well, all I know is that Jay Billis always told me that Reynolds was the toughest place he ever played in. And the Carmichael Auditorium was number 2. And of course, that was pre-Smith Center, but Carmichael was also a bandbox. But because of that, it was extremely loud. I went to a game there where North Carolina and Virginia played. And again, I'm showing off my age, but you guys probably need a history lesson anyway. It was 1-2, Sampson, Virginia against North Carolina. One of them was ranked number 1. The other was ranked number 2. It was Sampson for Virginia, Michael Jordan for North Carolina, and I was just with a friend. This is before I was broadcasting games. We got 2 decent seats at Carmichael for that game, and Virginia led most of the game, but with a little less than a minute to play, Rick Carlisle, Rick Carlisle, who's coached in the NBA all over the place. He was point guard for Virginia. He was bringing the ball up the court. Virginia's got a 1 or 2 point lead. I think a 1 point lead. He's trying to protect the ball. Michael Jordan steals it from him at midcourt and flies in for a, typical Michael Jordan dunk. I would say at that moment, when he stole that ball and dunked it, that was about as loud a roar as I've ever heard in any game.
Wow.
Because that was such a big game, and it was Michael Jordan doing Michael Jordan things. But yeah, Jay always told me, he said they would be in the huddle at Reynolds Coliseum trying to hear what Coach K was saying, but they couldn't hear him. They just have to read his lips. That's just how piercing the noise was back when Reynolds was bigger. You know, it was 12,400.
Right. Yeah.
Now that it's a beautiful place. What they did when they remodeled Reynolds, they took out a lot of the seats. But if those of you listening or watching right now, you haven't been to the remodeled Reynolds Coliseum, check it out, because they did a terrific job with that. And it's become a great home court for NC State's women's team, which has established itself as one of the best programs in the country.
Caegan, we need to, I'm going to admit something right now. I've never been to a game in Reynolds.
Well, it's different than it was in the old days, but it's better than it was, quite frankly. They cleaned it up. They opened it up. The lighting's much better than it was back in the old days. And they have the NC State Athletics Hall of Fame in the lobby now. And it's half the seats that they had back in the days when the men were playing there, but it's still a noisy venue like the older buildings are. But yeah, you guys can, if you're in Raleigh at some point, head over there and walk through there. It's one of the most historic arenas in history of college basketball. And in fact, when the ACC tournament started in the mid 1950s, I think the first 12 or so ACC tournaments were played at Reynolds.
Yep. Because
it was by far the biggest venue in the ACC. Greensboro wasn't built yet. And so, yeah, NC State benefited from that at when they started the ACC tournament, because the Pac was playing on its home floor. You won't see that anymore.
Yeah, that and the Dixie Classic, but that's a whole other topic.